artists, y'all, just tune into these things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Get out of when people say get out of your own way,
Mm-hmm.
I would hear that a lot. And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Get your ego to the back seat.
Yes.
We are here to be of service. How are you being of service?
Woo.
How are you showing up for others? How is your art showing up for others? Right? Yes, it's like it is an extension of you, but how is it helping people?
Come
you know what I mean?
Oh, girl, do not look. Okay, I'm about to take you to the classroom. Artists, creatives, and designers. I'm your host, Electra, and welcome to Dream Aloud Art, where we have educating, inspiring, and motivating conversations with creatives from around the world. Show some love and support by subscribing, liking this video, and uplift another creative by sharing this video. Let's tune in to another amazing conversation. Let's go. Artists, creatives, and designers, welcome to Dream Aloud Art on YouTube. And we are about to dive into an amazing conversation with a stellar creative, also known as Shannon Leighty. Y'all, I call her Leighty Body, but you know, that's our insider joke there. But yes, she is not only a very good friend of mine, but she is the creative mind behind her signature intuitive crystal mugs. Y'all, look, let me put you on. I'm going to have to pull up her IG also during this interview so you could see it. And she's also the creative mind behind Dreaming Hearts Publishing, which stay tuned. We're going to dive into that and learn a little bit more. So welcome, Shannon Leighty.
Woohoo! I'm glad to be here, Miss Electra.
Yes. Okay, y'all. So first and foremost, like I said, Shannon and I, we became fast friends, and all I can say is that we vibe super high. And this conversation, we are going to be touching on, how can I say it? I mean, it's easy to say spirituality and creativity, but like there's more depth. There's more depth to that. It's not just putting the words together and it sounds like a good thing, but there's just so much more to that. And y'all be careful, because Shannon, she's going to have like a spirit come through or something during this interview. Y'all. It's like by default, it's just going to happen. And you may have to listen to it. You may listen to this interview now, and then like 2 months you revisit it, and then you'll pick up where the spirit came through on her. And it's just like, okay, wow. Now I get it. So Shannon, just give us an introduction, a little bit about your history as a creative, when it began, when you just embraced becoming an artist. And I'm going to say all of that, but of course, I'm really talking about your journey, starting out, whatever that looked like, whatever that looked like. It looks different for everyone. It could be childhood. It could be in your teen years. It could be whenever. But when did you really start to own being an artist, being a creative?
Well, so that's such a good question. I've always considered myself a creative. Even back when I was a kid, I was always drawing, and I see it in my kids, they're just always drawing. And whenever they're home and I'm working on my ceramics, they're working. And neither of my parents were artists, but they also, didn't discourage me from being creative. Okay. In high school, that's when I first got my hands on clay. And I remember I made this clay mask, and my crafts teacher, that's what it was called back in my day. And I made this crafts.
I never had a crafts teacher. I mean,
a crafts class.
Yeah. Say that 5 times fast. Okay.
Yeah, right. Crafts. All right. Anyway, so I made this mask out of clay, and I used this glaze that was like this real bronzy, like shimmery glaze. And I remember Mrs. Kirtley loved it, and she put it in like the show, every high school has like the show.
Yes.
My mask went in, and I think that was like the first time that I was like, me?
It's like, oh, that's so special. That's so special.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So that was like, and you know, what's interesting is that later in life, I ended up teaching in the same district as Miss Kirtley, and we would be at like functions together.
Oh,
She was such a mentor to me, and she was so cool and fun, and
yeah.
And she really just made art fun. And that's like when it really like took root, right?
Yeah.
And then when it was time to start applying for college, you know, there was really nothing that I wanted to be other than an art teacher. I wanted to be an art teacher.
Nice.
Because I saw myself in Miss Kirtley, and and honestly, all it takes is one mentor.
Come on.
To believe in you. One.
Say that.
You know, really, that's all it takes. And she doesn't even know like this, you know. How many people out there walking around like not knowing how many people that they've touched, you know?
So true. But, you know, I mean, adding on to that, I also kind of feel like whether they realize it or not, maybe and this is, you know, connecting to, of course, the spiritual aspect of it. There's a knowing that they've done they've done their part, maybe in that moment, you know, so it's almost like in that moment when she's, you know, maybe encouraging you or whatever, it's like in that moment, they know a seed is being planted.
Absolutely.
And to just give light to that. That's so good. That's good. But that's a real good question. Like, how many of us floating out here and somebody on another platform is talking about, man, Shannon Leighty changed my life. And here we are chatting it up.
Well, and to be honest with you, until I said that out loud, I don't think I really appreciated just how much, like, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, Miss Kirtley really was a game changer for me, you know?
Yeah.
So to stay on, you know, the path. I then decided, okay, I want to go to school for art education. And JMU had just started their art ed program. Before it was kind of piecemealed, you know, but this was like the first time they were really like
an official one.
Yeah. Right. And so I went to JMU and I got a BFA.
Okay.
And then I got my teaching certification K through 12.
Nice.
Now in college, you know, you have the, you know, freshman year, you got to like take all the, you know, painting, drawing, you know,
core
all that,
classes,
the core art classes, right?
Yes.
But in my sophomore year, that was when I got to start exploring like the other branches. And of course, first thing I signed up for was ceramics. And I did 6 semesters of ceramics. 5 of those semesters were taught by the same teacher, Masako Miyato. And she was a Japanese artist. And her work was like flawless. I mean, I'm talking like, you don't even know it's clay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's the next level.
Yeah. Stuff. Her stuff was impressive. And Masako and I were very different in how we approached clay. And I think because I'm very organic in my like approach, and I'm real messy and like,
right.
You know, she's like, who is, you know, anyway, but once again, I made this teapot set, and Masako really didn't rave about any of my stuff, but that teapot set, there was something about it that she was just like, this is awesome. And once again, that encouraged me, you know, and she put it on display, and it was on display for a while in like the, you know, showcase and everything. And that gave me enough confidence, right? And I'm not saying that we should gain our empowerment and our confidence from others. I feel like that's an inward job. But at that age and stage in life, like you're looking to other people to kind of give you that like green light. You know?
Yeah.
Especially your teacher, you know?
That's right. If you, and I feel like most of us, if we have a certain admiration, you know, a certain respect for someone, for them to reciprocate the respect, maybe, you know, and maybe that's what it is. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, see, I see you and I respect you. But then that moment where they're like, you know what? I see you too. It's like, okay.
You know, it's like, hey, little baby budding ceramic artist, good job, you know?
Yes.
And so I had her for 5 of the 6 semesters. And the last semester, so she took a year off and then came back, and she like gave me a hug at the end when it was like time. And like, it really did seem like she was slightly emotional about that, you know, I was moving on, or that you know, because it was like a tight knit group of us, you know, that kind of had gone together and were graduating together, you know. And so I'm sure the emotion wasn't just about me, but in that moment I was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, because Misako was very like she was just very formal and like, you know, did not show a lot of emotion like at all. So it was really cool to see that.
So when you get a smile or something, or you get some more of that
or
emotion,
a hug, I was like, God dang, like, woo! I was riding on that for weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she was really cool, and yeah, like her husband, Steve, was the screen printing professor, and they were like this just cool, like artsy duo, you know?
Like the same thing when I went to college,
really?
and especially more specifically as an art major. Yeah, there were husbands and wives and couples, and you know, the staff is their family, like, and they're
exactly
they're so cute though. It's just like, oh, the graphic design professor is, you know, hugged up with the photography teacher or whatever. It's just like, is that like a thing?
I think Steve and Misako came to JMU together. So like, I think they were kind of a package deal, you know?
Okay.
If you're going to, cause I think they were already married before they came to Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is where JMU is. So they kind of came in together, but yeah, I mean, to find like-minded people, you know, where better than like in your own like little artist community.
Yes. I'm with
you
that.
know, I'm not saying all artists are like-minded, but at the same time, like there's that commonality, there's that thread, right?
And I feel like what I've found is really just because, you know, especially with Respect the Artists and with our platform, the main audience is visual artists, but of course, a lot of visual artists are into expressing themselves in a lot of different ways. And so, you know, the question comes up about music artists and, you know, just performance art in general and all of this. But so I feel like it's the willingness to express. And those of us who have signed up to say that we are expressing ourselves in a particular way. Yeah, that brings us together, like for sure. It's like, you know what, I go through the same thing that you're probably going through too, and whatnot. So let's since you've taken us through your college years, tell us about this path toward the intuitive mugs, you know, like, well, how did that become, you know, your signature focus?
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, so I would say I'm 2 things. Well, I'm lots of things, but I'm an artist.
Well, same here. You know who you're talking to right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm an artist and I'm also a psychic medium. And I don't throw those terms around a lot. But for this platform, I will say I'm a psychic medium. So I've always had the ability to sense and feel spirit around me from a very, very young age. And of course, as a child, it really freaked me out. And I never wanted to sleep by myself. But that's just because I didn't understand, you know, I didn't understand what I was sensing, what I was feeling. Even I just knew things were there and I just, you know, cut to, you know, so I went to college, became an art teacher. I taught for 2 years in Phoenix, Arizona. And then I taught for 3 years back here in Richmond, Virginia. And that's when I met my husband. And then he got into a grad program out in Los Angeles, and we moved out to LA. And I taught 3 years high school in Los Angeles. And while I was out in Los Angeles, well, the thing that's so cool about California, in the West Coast in particular, is that spirituality and the universe and all of those concepts are so much more just openly talked about out West. Not really sure. I mean, I think it's just newer age, right? New age, like thought, right? That's like its birthplace, you know, maybe not its birthplace, but where it really like honed in. So being out in LA, you know, I'm doing yoga, I'm meeting like other people who, you know, really focus in on meditation and everything. And around 30, I went through a very dark period. It was like the summer after my first year of teaching, and I went into a pretty bad depression, and I finally like got myself like snapped myself out of it with the help of friends and family and medication and therapy and all of those things. And it was then that my girlfriend, Jess, one of my best friends for years and years, who also just lived down the street from me in LA, which is random. She's like, you got to try this meditation place. It's called True Insight. It's really cool. It's intuitive meditation. So I started going, and I loved it because it was helping me understand so much about myself that I just kind of chalked up as like, well, this is just something weird about me. Yeah. And it helped me learn like all these tools about how to see energy, how to use my chakras, how to clear my chakras, how to help other people clear their chakra bodies. Like, what is a chakra? You know, I don't even think I knew. Yeah. And so I did like 5 years of this, I went to True Insight for about 5 years on and off. And all the while, I had quit teaching at that point, and I was a teaching artist at a place called the Clay House on Santa Monica Boulevard. And I had a show there, and it was really cool. And I've had a couple shows in LA, which was really awesome and a good experience. And so I'm not trying to lose the thread. I know you asked about the intuitive mugs. It's kind of a journey to get there, you know?
No, are we here, girl? We are here. Do you hear me?
All right. So I'm going to get there.
Take a sip. Yes. Out of that pretty mug.
Salud. So, you know, and then for a while I had a studio, and another Japanese friend of mine, Keiko, another really cool artist type, her and her husband, super rad, you know. And anyways, when we moved back to Richmond, I was like, all I want is a studio in my house. Like I want a studio in my house. And my husband's uncle is a contractor, and he made it happen. And
yes, a wonderful studio, y'all. Let me just give the plug.
I mean, it's a basement studio. There's nothing special about it. You know, it's kind of like a weird shape, but it works. And I have my kiln,
and you make it wonderful. That's what I'm saying. It's the Shannon Leighty energy. You know what I'm saying? Okay, go ahead.
It's a vibe. It is a vibe. And so when I finally got my studio set up. Now, mind you, I had 2 kids at this point, and creativity had fallen off the bandwagon, right? So it had been probably 4 years since I really had my hands in clay. Maybe 3 years.
Okay.
I'd say. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to start making mugs. I'm going to start making mugs because I like mugs. And and I'm just going to make and make and make until it sparks, right? Until like whatever, you know? So it started off as like, I had these mugs, and a few people bought them, and I still have a bunch of them at my house, and they were very simple, you know, nothing fancy. And then my good friend, Victoria, who's also somebody I work with for Dreaming Hearts Publishing.
Shout out, Victoria.
Boop, boop. Vic. She was like, hey, I love your mugs. This is like before we really, really knew each other. She said, I like your mugs. Any way you could put a crystal on that? Because she does cacao ceremonies and she wanted a crystal like in her mug, so that when she drank her cacao, like she was getting infused with it. And I was like, oh, that's so dope. Like, yes, I'm gonna put a crystal in it. So I'll never forget that first mug. It had a heart on it. It had a aura quartz crystal like inside. I made sure to like research like food safe glue and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that started that's where the spark hit. And so then I started making crystal mugs with crystals on them, Yes. And I'm also, mind you, like doing readings as well on the side, for people. And I do not advertise being a psychic medium. That is not
you don't lead with.
I do not lead with that because I let people find me. It's not a financial thing for me. It's more of just being of service. And so if people find me, then I know it's meant to be, and we'll do the reading and everything.
Absolutely.
So I'm not exactly quite sure like where like the point of the two like intertwine, but when I was doing readings, I started using art to look so I would tune into the person's energy, and then I would draw out their chakra bodies, and I could start to like, it created like a map to where they had some blocks, why they had blocks. And it was like something that I could like physically give them so that they had this like drawing of like their personal like landscape, right? Internal landscape. And I did that for a few clients, and then I was like, shit, like I need to like they need to have a physical object that helps them with this healing, right? Because essentially that's what it is. It's a healing.
Right.
And so then I started to create the mugs that represented the colors and crystals that, I would put the crystal that I put on the mug and the chakras that I, use as the texture, like my stamps, I have all the chakra stamps. And so
yes, you do.
the main the main image on the mug is usually the chakra where they are working, and so every time you're using it, you're working on that healing, and you're processing, and it's kind of like it's another tool. It's a support, right?
Yeah.
And oh yes.
Yeah. Well, I have to add on to what you're saying here, because what you're talking about is what we're continuously moving into in this conversation. And that is a spiritual experience with whether it's being creative or a spiritual experience that we're having when we create that thing. Like this creation is a result of a spiritual experience. All right. So I need for you to feel where I'm going with this, because I place myself in the listener, okay, and whomever's tuning in to this conversation. And so how just, of course, this is your perspective or your insight for us.
Yes, ma'am. How
can I put more of myself into what I'm doing, or because you could take either path here. So how can I put myself more into what I'm doing, or more into what I'm creating, or what exactly is happening when I'm creating here spiritually? Is something happening here? Like pick a route, route, whichever direction you want to move in, or move in your own direction, whatever feels strongest to you to respond to, just with this connection of my spirituality or my spirit in relation to creativity. Like what can I do with this? What am I, what does that look like for me, the listener who is wondering, okay, creativity, spirituality, I don't know, like what direction can that listener move in? What am I, for me, I'm thinking of all the thousands of conversations I've had with artists who basically know that there's something more that needs to be explored here.
Absolutely.
But I don't think they give themselves enough credit for what they're already exploring.
Yes.
You know, like your intuitive mugs didn't just, you know, like boom, there it is. Like one day there's the mug and the finished product. So like what else can you give us along that topic? That connection with spirituality and creativity.
Oh, this is an awesome topic because I feel like they are one and the same, right? So I want to speak to a term that I use a lot, and I'm not the one who created this term, but when I heard it, it really resonated to me. We all have a creative genius.
Yes.
Our creative genius is not separate from us. However, it isn't always present, right? Like it's not who's showing up all the time, right? And I think that this is coming to me. So to live truly in alignment, right? As an artist, that creative genius needs to be more woven through our daily existence, not just when we're sitting down to create, right?
That's it.
So it kind of comes back to life is the ceremony, right? Everything we do is the ceremonial practice to the art that we create, right? Woo! So you get up, you have your coffee, you sit outside, you look at the birds, I'm just talking about what I do.
Right. It's like a ritual. It's a daily practice.
It's your ritual.
Daily ritual. Yes.
You do your yoga or you go to the gym, and just as well as I know that when those things start to go by the wayside, so does your creativity, right?
Yes.
The creative genius gets further and further away, right? So
I knew it come through. That's the spirit coming through, y'all, just so y'all know, in case you're driving, you need to pull over real quick. Just saying.
So life is the ceremony. You're always in ceremony, how you treat people, how you interact with your children, and so when you're operating in that alignment with self, with that soul self, right?
In alignment.
Yes. Yeah. Then that creative genius is like who's showing up, and is easily tapped when time to tap it, right? So something I want to, so in the line of Dreaming Hearts Publishing, which has changed names over time, once again, it is a process and a journey.
Yes.
So the biggest thing that we're working on as a publishing company is Layla Starr and the Chakra Buddies. And Layla is a little star seed, but she's in human form. And she goes into a meditative state through her art, through creating. And when she's in that meditative state, she goes into this whole other world and starts learning about all the different entities that are there to help her become more in alignment and to help.
Real quick, y'all. She's talking about a book. She's talking about a book.
A children's book. Sorry.
A children's book. Yes.
Layla Starr and the Chakra Buddies. And the Chakra Buddies are beings. They're little animals that help kids to stay in alignment. That help. It's literally what we're talking about. It is like helping this generation of youth and the parents that are like, because, this is for all ages, right?
Absolutely.
And the parents to learn about the tools, the support that we have always on a daily basis. You might not physically be able to see it. It might not be tangible, but they're there.
But absolutely, sign me up.
And so this little girl goes on a journey and discovers the Chakra Buddies and brings them in to the earth plane. And it's just a really cool story. But the big focus is in the beginning is she goes into a meditative state through her drawing. And you talk about being in that creative zone, that when that creative genius fully comes in, right? And also, let me say something. There are ideas just all the time, like in the ethers, right? And you ever just be like drinking your coffee or whatever, your cacao or your water,
and what happens?
And all of a sudden you have this idea, right? And you don't act on it because you're like, I'm not. And then like a year later, somebody does it. Somebody else executes, right?
Girl,
that little idea came through, floated in, came into your consciousness. You were like, no, on to the next. And you swiped right.
That was a choice.
Swiped right.
That was
it. And that man went on to the next lady. Do you know what I mean?
She said swipe right. Oh my gosh.
But like truth, right?
Moved on. You know, it's like
moved on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, perfect example. Matt, my husband, he has so many, he is an idea man. He has so many of those idea entities come into his ether all the time.
Yeah.
He's been talking about a dog park bar that he wants to call Bar K. Is he ever going to open a freaking dog park bar? No, he's got way too much other shit he's doing. What happens in Scott's Edition this year? They open a dog park bar. It's like exactly what he was like. It's membership. They have to be vetted. The dogs have to be vetted. You know what I mean? Same. And it's literally opened up right next to where we take our dogs for doggy daycare. Right?
Oh my Lord. Okay. But you know, what's even more mind blowing about that is that it's close to you. Like you can actually physically see it. You know what I mean?
No
like we've had different ideas, and I feel like that's almost a human thing. Something that may sound like a quick, good idea, and then you may see it on TV, or you may, I don't know. You see it. It's like this little like, oh, it's a thing, or it's done. But then now, like what you just shared with me, it's like in the same town,
like legit,
I am blown away.
He's been talking about this for 5 years. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it always comes up. He's like, look at that property over there. That'd be a good Bar K. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, okay, well, wait a minute. Wait. So I know you're talking about the ideas, but this is still creativity. As a matter of fact, that's superbly creative when you have, people who are innovative or have inventions and all of that.
What is creativity? Too. Creativity is creation. It's the creation of something,
Yes. Yeah.
That's why women are the most badass creatures on the face of this planet, because we literally create life in our bodies,
Exactly. And
we are the mothers of creation.
That's right. Girl, yes, drop those gems. But I want to go back to the embodiment.
Yes.
Something that is that, and I say embodiment because that's a verbiage that has really resonated with me within the past couple of weeks. But embodying it and really being and connecting to what you said, Shannon, in alignment. And when you're in alignment, and that's like the more, I'll just say the more dominant kind of energy, like you're, because that's what I experience. Like with RTA and what I do, that is the dominant presence is that creative genius. And so if you tell me, and I'll say it in a different way, if you tell me to turn it down a little, I almost feel like I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that means to like chill out the creativity. Like, I don't know.
Well, you're an amazing example of somebody who walks the walk, right? Like you're an amazing example of somebody who gets up every morning with intention, right? And lives your day with intention, and you follow that creative genius. And you could also call it your intuition. You could call it many a things, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But when we're talking in the world of art, right, I like to call it creative genius. And when I was a teacher, I had so many kids be like, I'm not an artist. I'm like, yes,
girl, you are. Don't get us
yes,
screaming.
You are. I'm like, just because clay isn't your medium doesn't mean, like, I hear you singing over there, like to your music. You're an artist. Like you're creating beautiful things. Isn't that what art is? Right?
Absolutely. Like, come on, say that, girl.
You're creating a vibe. You're creating beauty. You're creating like, and it's in that beauty. That's the love. That's the high vibe frequency, right?
Yes.
I always say,
did y'all catch that? Hold on. Let me, love is the high vibe frequency. That's the highest one, y'all.
And when you're creating, there's a lot of love that has to take place for oneself in order to bring those creations into existence. Because if you're doubting yourself and hating on yourself, it ain't coming out.
It's not. And then that's where, whoo, okay, hold on. This is, and I'm looking at my notes here, but this is where I'm going to connect the creative block. And so what you just said, that if you're not in that highest state of love, and I want to say this too, like highest, and I'm probably saying this for my old self too, because when I heard things like this, I'm thinking that there's like, I have to get to that place, like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I have to get right there in order to be as creative. I feel like that may link to the desire, perhaps like the desire to keep moving in that stride, because it's not like it ends. Like
it doesn't
end.
The
height of love doesn't just like end and here's the goal. We got to reach it. But can you expand on that, the block that may happen, or what that means when there is a moment of stagnation? Like, okay, so I want to tap in, I want to grow deeper in the state of love when I'm creating, but I'm having a block. And what does that mean? What does that mean to you, Shannon? Or what could it possibly mean to the artist listening who is experiencing that, I'll say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can only speak to my own experience. The times that I've had creative block, and I don't even know if you'd call it a block. It's more of life happening and not being in control of it's more like when I'm in survival mode, I'm not creating. Okay. So when I had 2 young kids, you know, and I'm changing diapers and not sleeping at night, and that, but you know, here's the thing, you know, that's its own creative process in and of itself. You know what I mean? Girl. So it's not to be like to say that if you're blocked and you're like not in your studio creating, it doesn't mean that you're out there just like being a hot mess. You know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't.
You're in the soup. You know what I mean? You're in the human soup. Like,
that's right, girl. And the girl said human soup. I can't. Now maybe that, like, I don't hear that every day. So to me, I was like, the human soup, yo,
like it is. You're like in the mix. You know, like that's not your creative endeavors aren't your. They aren't the main priority, right? And I mean, this happens, you know, like we all have to make money and work. And maybe your art isn't what you want to be your work. And so, you know, there's a lot of facets, right?
That's right.
And I think, and I will say this though, just because you can't do like a big painting, right? Say you're a painter and you're like in survival mode, you got kids, or, you know, you're just in a job that's drowning you, whatever. And you just don't have that 3 hours or whatever to get in that zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, here's the other thing, color pencils and a journal, have it by your bed, you know,
listen,
just a little, it doesn't even have to be like, you don't even have to do like a full page, like, just draw a heart.
Get it. Just get it going. I'm going to share this with you. And that's so good that you said that, because there's something, I believe it's called like the 2-minute rule. I believe it's called the 2-minute rule. So what that is that you said, and I said this on another interview too, because it's so critical when it comes to making time and what time looks like for different artists, right? Like some of them are like, time means I have to block off a day. It's like, okay, what is your, like, if you're talking about using colored pencils, do you really need to block off a whole day? Like, I don't now, if your form of creativity is going out to, or say their favorite medium, if you will, is going out, because there is an RTA member who does this, and he takes, what do you call these big saws, and he does woodwork, so that's something that yes, you need to dedicate a significant amount of time to. But the 2-minute rule, I believe that's what it's called, is that you just set a timer for 2 minutes and you just tell yourself you're going to do this thing for 2 minutes. That's it. Right. And now the catch is that when 2 minutes hits, because it's so short, right, it's too late to turn back because you've already started.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're like, oh, I'm doing it more than 2 minutes. Oh, now I'm doing it for 5 minutes. You know what? I could probably do this for 10 minutes. It's that getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Just get the wheels moving here. You know, that's really good.
Well,
That's
and let
so
me
good.
say this,
Mhm.
like, I'm not in my studio every day working on ceramics. Like, that's not happening, right?
Come on now.
But I will say this, like, I am doing things that keep that creative energy flowing. Like, and so by the time I get into my studio, I know what it is that this body, these hands want to make, you know, because I've been thinking on it and thinking on it, and it's been coming and coming. And so, you know, I think that that's crucial too. It's like, you, as an artist, you can't always just be in your studio. It's not always like, it just isn't always possible. And you don't it's not always something you want to be doing. Do you know what I mean?
Because if you're like 99.9% of human beings, we're dynamic. So we don't just like do that one thing. I did a podcast episode about this. Like we all, and you know, sometimes I'll bring it back to basics and I'll just keep it real. Like it's important that we eat, right? We need to eat to survive and live. But there's a cap on the eating. All right. Like you reach a point that you can't eat anymore. That means stop and recharge, regroup. So the same rule applies if you're, you know, in your creative, you know, you're in your creativity, you're in your zone, whatever that looks like. Like there is more to life that can also add on to that creativity if we're keeping it real, but there is more to your life and enjoying it, you know, enjoying it or living it or whatever. And you know what, throw a challenge in there every now and then too, you know, throw a nice little challenge. If you don't throw a challenge in there, life's going to throw one at you. And guess what? That means you're going to have to still develop and still grow too. All of that can help sharpen your creativity. You know, I mean, like it really can if you want to use it to your advantage. Girl, did you hear? Why is it you look like you just changed? I don't know what happened. The hair. Okay, you pushed your hair back. And I want to give this quick plug, y'all, because we've been on a good roll. But heads up to make sure that you click the links in the description of this YouTube video or the podcast, if you're tuning in. And so you can get to see more of Shannon's creations, and what she does, and, you know, basically just get to know her more and support her on her movement, y'all, because it is a movement. I just hope that y'all know that. I hope you realize that.
Well, you know, so the idea of Dreaming Heart came to me as a download. I talked to you about this. I used to live in Long Beach. It was right after I had my son. I was in a coffee shop and,
real quick, y'all, I'm just pulling up her Instagram so you can actually get some visuals, but go ahead.
And I had pulled an oracle card, and I had pulled, oh yeah, look at that.
Hold on. Go ahead. No, I'm just, please continue. I just want them to be able to see your stuff.
Absolutely. So I had pulled an oracle card, and the oracle card was Dreaming Heart. In fact, I have it over here in my studio. I have the card. And ever since then, it just really, and my girlfriend Diane and I, we used to run a program when I lived in Long Beach called Heart Center. And we would do an hour of meditation, and then we would do an art project based on what we did in that meditation. And we did that for like 2 years. Heart Center, heart, healing, energy, art. And unfortunately, when I moved back to Virginia, she's still out in Los Angeles. It just wasn't conducive for us to keep. So anyways, Dreaming Heart, you know, it's like, we're all, my ultimate goal is to bring in more dreaming hearts, and to have my dreaming heart be a safe space for other dreaming hearts, you know, because when you're operating and dreaming from that heart space without the ego, magic happens.
Yes.
Magic. I've seen it. Magic, right? Like, and so to infuse that in everything I do in my ceramics, but then also just in my daily life, and then bringing it into the children's books. And also like the idea with Dreaming Hearts Publishing is that it's not just going to be children's books. It's going to be magical, conscious content for all ages, you know?
Yeah.
And so that my hope is that it will be a safe space for other writers to come and bring in their work. But yes, so Dreaming Heart, like, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but
no, you were, excuse me, man. We were supposed to talk about it. And so there we go. You did that. You did that. So, and I love that because number one, what's going to, well, first and foremost, to my artists that are tuning in, you have to call it, like the things that we're talking about here. You have to call that into existence. What you just said, you know, my hope is that, you know, like-minded and hearted individuals come to the platform.
That's an affirmation. That's a manifestation right there.
Yeah. So you have to speak that. You have to call that. And I'll say, like, you have to call it in, like, you better dial that thing in and understand that your belief system is a real thing. So get into that state, start really giving more energy, more love, more, you know, whatever to your belief system. Because you got to believe that joint, call it in, speak it. And that's the only way it can be. Go ahead.
And I also want to speak to the process of that too, because I don't want people to get frustrated with, well, I'm not there, but like, I'm so far away. Like, and you are exactly like, let me tell all your listeners out there right now, and I want you to hear me. You are exactly where you need to be. The things that you have learned in your life, the challenges that you have faced have brought you to this very moment. And it has not passed you by. It has not passed you by. The things that you are meant to do in this life, your life purpose, will not pass you by. And you just have faith in that, you know, that timing, there is divine timing and everything. And that sometimes you are held back from really pushing forward, you know, because it's just the soil isn't fertile yet, you know?
Yeah.
You've planted the seed and it takes time. It takes time. It has literally been 7 years since I got that Dreaming Heart download. And I am just now really seeing the possibilities with Dreaming Hearts Publishing. Just now, like in these last few months. And Electra Electra, let me plug you right here. Electra really helped me understand my role in that, because I've never, you know, a publishing company, me, like, what does that even mean? But I realized it's more about who I am and how I want to be of service to others, you know. That's good. I want to be a safe space for other dreaming hearts. And I want to do it through writing. I want to do it through illustration, you know, and that's a whole nother facet from where I usually operate, you know?
Right. But you know what? It's also something that it's a gift of yours too. Like this is, I want to say so much more. And we could be going and going on this one, because on this part of our discussion alone, because it's so critical to understand, like, you're a dynamic being. Like, it's not, it ain't about, well, and I'm being gentle when I say this. So artists, brace yourself. All right. It ain't about like, I just do ceramics and that is solely it. Like, again, you're a dynamic being. You don't roll out of bed doing ceramics and then ignore the existence of everyone around you and your family and just keep doing ceramics from day to night every day. It's just not it. Like, you know, so giving love to the other gifts that you have. This is something I said on a recent live. Like, I'm good in math. So like, if I'm superb in math, and again, I'm just using this as an example. If I feel really called to do something that really amplifies my mathematical skills, then I do that. If I feel really called to do that, you have to understand, like, there are so many gifts, not only like a primary purpose, we'll say, But there are other gifts that you have that you can be helping, not only like yourself, but you could be helping others with too. Like, I'll just use the math thing. Maybe I'm not necessarily supposed to be doing something with math, but God, God willing, I have a family, I have children. Maybe my know-how with math, I can actually help my kids with. Like, you're like, Mom, what you know about algebra? It's just like, oh, please. I was in advanced math class.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you can touch people's lives in different ways. It's like you were just talking about with writing or publishing and all this, like me, but there's a role that you play, or there's, oh, girl, I feel like I'm tapping all into the future. Like now I'm seeing something, but there's a role that you play that only you can play to make this thing happen. You may be thinking of publishing in a certain way, like me. Why would I, be that person? Because you're looking at it like you have to be some other person. But the truth is, the role that you play is the Shannon Leighty role. And only you can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, so artists, I just had to give that plug, because it's like you have more, there are more gifts to be expressed.
Absolutely.
There are more. And right when you think I'm an example of that. Right when I think I have like, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure I've explored the gift. Then there's more. Then there's more opportunities. And it's just like, what? You know what? Like, how many times has someone just asked me, oh, Electra, are you doing 1, 2, and 3 still? And I'm like, actually, yeah, like I could do that. Like, yeah, come on now. Come on.
Well, that's where the magic is, right? Yes. So many of us ignore, I just being out in the world and just experiencing other people and their lives. No judgment. We all have our path to take, right?
Absolutely.
But a lot of people, it seems like, ignore their creative magic, right? It's like, oh, I'll get to that one day. And the thing is that one day will never come unless you make it happen,
That's right.
So there's that piece, right? And also, like, if you're living a life where you're really disconnected from your creative genius, because we all have one, and you're disconnected from that magic, then I'm going to say that you're probably living a lot in your ego, right? And the ego self, it's not necessarily like the ego. When I think a lot of people hear ego, they think about like me, I'm the best,
right. Like arrogance. Yeah.
It's not, the ego is fear. And when we're in fear and when we are in like lack, then we are operating out of our ego, right?
Yeah.
And that, so not to get too far off, but because we're not just talking about creating art here. We're talking about creating a happy life, right? Oof. We're talking about creating a joyful life.
That's right. Because living your best life, living your best creative life. Lord, I'm about to write a book. What? Living your best creative life. I'm just saying.
And that's exactly it. Okay. So
yes, DHP. Yes.
All right. But we're talking about living a creative life. Like, so when you're in your ego and you're operating from fear and you're operating from lack, right? You're operating from that survival space. Then everything outside of you is going to mirror that, your friendships, your relationship with your family, your work environment. Like, it's like, if that's where you're foundationally operating from, then everything else
is going to be the reflection.
Is going to be the reflection.
So good.
So when I talk about life as the ceremony, right? Like, you got to wake up every day with intentionality, right? And the things that fill your cup, like, need to be in your routine,
Yes. And
you really helped remind me of that, and over the last, I'd say like 6 months, I've been really working on getting back in that flow state, because that's when you're in flow.
Yes.
Right? Because you ain't operating on anybody else. You aren't putting your power into anybody else but yourself. You're filling up yourself. You're empowering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one in control of your life. You can't control anything else that's happening. You can't control how she feels, how he feels, what they do, but you can control how you move through that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And if you have like set routines in place of things that fill you up, maybe it's journaling, maybe maybe it's the yoga practice, whatever it is, walking your dog. I don't know. Just looking at nature really helps fill me up.
Yes.
And that's like, man, we could like even go into like the disconnect that humans have with nature. Right.
Ooh,
and
girl,
like
don't.
how that stifles creativity as well, So it's really about alignment and it's about self-empowerment and doing the things in your day, even if it's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that really fill you up. And a lot of times when we're operating in that self-loathing, like victim, ego, fear state, that's when we're scrolling Instagram, comparing ourselves to everybody else. And then more doubt comes in and more doubt comes in. Yeah. And so the idea of you even creating something that has meaning to you is completely out the fucking window. Because you're basing, like, here's the thing. My mugs, not everybody's going to like my mugs. Not everybody likes my art. Some people look at my art and say, why would you do that? Well, then it's not for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But Shannon, this is why it's so critical. I just had this talk on a previous interview too. It's so critical for us to lead with the passion of doing it. Like someone else's perspective it don't mean nothing to me. I mean, if we're just keeping it real, if I'm just saying exactly what's on my mind, it don't mean nothing to me because that would mean I'm picking something from the external and trying to insert that in myself. But that's not how I operate. So I encourage artists to do the same thing, to operate from the inside out. So when you're operating from a heart-centered place and you're, I'm not going to segue into that, but a healthy heart-centered place. When you're operating from that healthy heart-centered place, then what in the world could anyone else say about what I'm doing that will shift me?
Doesn't matter. I'm rock solid, baby.
You have to be so firm in that, because you will, as Shannon Leighty, aka Leighty Body, just said, you will have people who don't vibe with it. You will have challenges. You will have people, and that doesn't mean that it's, your primary audience is going to be challenging you all over the place.
No.
But even if they are, if it's coming from here out, then what can you do to me? Like that doesn't
what can you and also you kind of put a protection bubble around yourself when you operate from that space. It's like anything just bounces. So if you're in that lax state at all, you have created an insert for somebody to come in and poke. Right?
Girl, I said the foundation is weak. I've been there before. The foundation is weak. I've been there before.
I've been there, and I have let what other people think control how I operate in my day. And it really only took one real heartbreak in that arena for me to then realize, oh, fuck no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like,
not today, not ever.
Not today, Satan. You go on about your way. You know what I mean?
Girl.
This is a rock solid foundation, protection. Like,
that's right.
And I'm not saying that I don't get in my feels and I don't have days where I just don't I look at my stuff and I'm like, And don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
And I mean, just to even keep it real, because I know people need to understand that we're human and we have these
Exactly.
days. There is another artist on Instagram who uses crystals, and she uses them a million times better than I do. I mean, in my perspective, right? Like she has been working with them longer, and she actually fires the crystals in her clay, and it's like, I like literally am like drooling, like in envy of like her work. You know what I mean?
Right.
But instead of getting like, well, first off, I will tell you, I reached out to her and I said, your stuff is amazing. You inspire me.
I love that.
Because let's take that comparison and turn it into like, I want to prop you up because you're fucking giving me fire to make my stuff even better. Do you know what I mean?
Level up. It's a level up energy, but it's a level up with like a healthy level up where it's like, okay,
with
cool.
Grace,
I see that.
You know?
Exactly. It's like, cool. I see that. And this is something I'll put on repeat, and I tell artists all the time. And I've even told my friends this. I may have told you this. I'm not sure, but whatever it is that you're seeing in that person, or their work, will say, but in that artist, whatever you're seeing, it's not something that only you have. The fact that you can see it is a cosign that it's in you. If it wasn't in you, you couldn't see it. Yeah. If it wasn't in you, you couldn't see it. So now that you've seen it, how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it like, oh, I'm lesser than, or are you looking at it like, you know what? Game on. I love that you're doing that. Shout out to you. Maybe there's something I can learn, like maybe there's something I could pick up.
I told you better believe I like ordered all these crystals online. I'm going to be like firing the shit out of some crystals. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know you could even do that. Like, what the fuck?
See,
you know,
but it was meant for you to see. So now you know that you can, and then you can give it. And that's something else. Artists, pay attention. There is literally no way that you can copy another artist. Hear me when I say this.
Preach.
There is no way.
Nobody can take your shine.
Yes, no one
your
can.
Art is your light. Nobody can take your light. They can dim it.
I'm telling you. So I'll use what I do as an example. I've seen other artists that have, connected with my platform, and then they want to start doing it too. They want to start, being vocal. They want to start showing love to other artists. Why should I feel any kind of thing? Because they're going to do it in their own way. Like, shout out to them. Go do that, because more artists need to be empowered. And if anything, if they're like, yo, Electra, like, oh my gosh, like, you inspired me. Why shouldn't I be thanking God for that and be like, you know what, man, this is why I do this. So it could continue to spread. And artists, y'all, just tune into these things a little bit differently. Yeah. Go ahead.
Get out of, when people say get out of your own way, I would hear that a lot. And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Get your ego to the back seat. Yes. We are here to be of service. How are you being of service? Woo. How are you showing up for others? How is your art showing up for others? Right? Yes, it's like it is an extension of you, but how is it helping people? What I mean?
Oh, girl, do not look. Okay, I'm about to take you to the classroom, because this is what I teach in my coaching program on Instagram. Yeah. This is what I teach. Like, I always talk about 3 main things, which I won't give that away to y'all. You have to join the coaching program.
That's right.
But one of those key things is actually leading with a message, a story, or a theme, whatever that is, because you got to give us more than just something to look at. Like it looks great, and we're going to say it's so dope from sun up to sundown, but give us something deeper. Yeah. Give us something else. Like, what is your story? How are you being, as you said, of service? How is this helping the collective? Like, how is this helping us? It looks great. It's wonderful. But then that would be very surface of us to just be like, oh, it's cool. Great.
Well, and so some people would be like, well, how do I do that? Well, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, she's about to give you 3 easy ways to do it. She's going to give you some tips and tricks. Y'all pay attention. Grab a pencil.
I don't know, but
yeah,
you have got to be your most authentic self.
Man,
you need to speak from your truth. Like, don't, you know, authenticity, like people can go their whole lives and not living an authentic life. And how you do that, I don't know. It seems miserable. That you want to talk, I don't believe in hell, but you want to talk about a personal hell.
Yes.
When you are not living from your truth and from your authentic being, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And
that's a disservice to yourself. First
it's
and foremost.
such a disservice to yourself, you know? And like, what is being authentic? Being authentic is saying, I'm not perfect. It took a lot of mistakes to then get it right. Do you know what I mean? Being authentic is showing up to the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. It's like all the things, and just being okay with that, because this is the human experience. Earth is a school. We're here to learn. If you're not learning, then what the fuck are you doing here? Do you know what I'm saying? So like, if you are failing at something over and over again, just keep going. Like, failure is only proof that you're trying. And that's it.
That's right. That's right. Say that, girl. You got me hollering. We could be going and I mean, and you know, maybe that does need to be a different conversation, you know, at another time, because I mean, it's just so many gems, so many diamonds that have been dropped here. So many, crystals that have been dropped here.
I've been holding this quartz crystal the whole time.
Y'all, she's holding a crystal. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you go watch the YouTube video as she randomly whipped up a crystal. I'm like, so do you keep crystals on you? Like, is that, do you carry them?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. There have been times when I have been changing out of my clothes, you know, into my pajamas, and literally had like, I forgot that I had like put a crystal like in my in my sports bra or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it like falls out, and I'm like, whoops.
Yeah, that's now for me, that was a real question. I just want my listeners to know that was a real question about carrying crystals, because you know, I know people carry crystals, and you know, I know friends that carry different things. You know, I mean, and it's for different purposes. But so I want to, I feel like I'm. Now I'm stopping before I even say this, because you've been sharing words of encouragement and empowerment all the way through. But what is, just in a way to summarize, what is a piece of advice that you can give the doubtful artist who is listening and is really looking for encouragement to, of course, connecting to the spirituality and creativity, to put more of themselves, put more of their deeper selves, more of their spirit into their work? What advice could you give them?
I would say you have to get off Instagram.
Girl,
you got to get off social media for a hot minute.
You may have to. Yeah, you may have to.
And you need to go inward, and you need to create for the sake of creating. You don't create for an audience. Don't create to say, hey, look what I did. You just create to create. And you get in that flow. And when you feel good and like lit up by what you're doing, then take it to the streets, you know, then share it. Then but if you're sharing from a space of lack within yourself, you know what I mean? It isn't going to be received the way you want it to be.
It's not going to hit the same.
It's not going to hit.
So glad you said that.
And you know, it's just take time to be with yourself. Take time to be with yourself. Social media is great, but I think it's also, it takes us out of ourselves, you know? And it's really important that this day and age, you step away and take time to be with yourself and with your art. Yeah. You know, like be with your medium, just be with it, you know, talk to it.
That's the real energy.
Engulf yourself in it, like vibe with it. That's your, like, that is your outlet, you know, and don't let anybody's energy into that. Bubble yourself up with a golden sprinkly bubble and just go to work, you know?
Yes. Get that, girl. Let me snap on that one too.
Work. You know what I mean?
Yes, girl. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So we're going to continue and then we're going to close out, but we're going to continue with a word game. First of all,
Okay.
before we get into the word game, this whole conversation has given me life, girl. Absolutely.
Me too.
And I
appreciate it.
I know that our listeners, I know that it's going to really hit a couple of listeners, at least 2 or 3 that it's going to hit like down to changing the trajectory of their life, you know.
Amazing.
So yeah, I appreciate that. What was the name of your teacher again? The one that inspired you?
Mrs. Kirtley.
Vicky
Kirtley. I think it's Vicky is her
Kirtley.
name.
Girl, you're gonna become somebody's Vicky Kirtley after this one. They're gonna be like, they're like, yeah, they're gonna be on the
just
interview.
passing on the torch, you know, because then they're gonna be somebody's Vicky Kirtley.
Yes, I'm telling you, they are going to be on a whole interview sometime. It might even be with me. I might be interviewing them one day, and then they're like, "Yeah, you had somebody named Shannon Leighty. Someone you said Leighty
body.
Yeah." Girl, you better hit the follow button for Mrs. Kirtley if she's got an Instagram. You better holler at
her. I've never social media stalked her. I should.
Oh yeah, girl, it's, you know, I've done that later in life. I have reached out. I just look, you know, they came to mind. A teacher came to mind and I found them and I sent them a message and I was like, yo, you know, I remember when fill in the blank. And it just means a lot. You know, it means a lot to them too. And it does something for us. To give that. It does something for us. But yeah, so let's segue into the word game, ma'am. So I have pulled a few words from our conversation.
Okay.
And I try to be really cool with that. Like as you're talking, I'm like, ooh, that's a good word for the word game. And so I jot that down real quick. All right. So the first word, again, you're just calling off the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word. So the first word is bubble. Bubble.
Yeah, bubble. Bubbles are I use protection bubbles all the time. I put people in bubbles all the time.
Wait, hold on. So what is the first word that comes to your mind?
Magic.
Magic. Okay. All right.
Yeah, bubbles
that's
are
appropriate.
magic.
that fits, especially what you were talking about a moment ago. Okay, the next word is fire.
Internal flame.
Flame. Oh my gosh. Why you are so, that is like such a you response. Like that's such a good answer. Like fire, someone might say match or something, but here you are like internal flame. Excuse me. Yes, sign me up. Okay, so the next word is crafts.
Knitting. Honestly, like crafts to me is like knitting, which is amazing. I love knitting,
girl. Yeah, but so that's just
handwork. You know,
it's just
handwork.
Okay. Girl, I used to do some crocheting.
I
used to go off on crocheting.
I bet you did.
Girl, yes. Sign me up for crafts class.
Yeah. That's funny. That's what I think of when I think of crafts.
Right. That is hilarious. And then I love that because I almost feel like we just noticed a point where we could actually play like a word game ping pong. So I said, what did I just say? Crafts. Then you said knitting. Then the first word that came to me when you said knitting was yarn. Ooh, girl, that's a whole game. I have to keep that one in mind. That's fun. Okay. The next word is Japanese.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Yes.
The Japanese are awesome.
Yes, girl. And in my mind, I went back to when I used to live there. Yes, it was very awesome. Japanese folks, family, Japanese family out there. Yes. Okay. The next word is mirror. Mirror.
Reflection.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. And your final word is dream.
Bigly. Dream bigly. No. Okay. Dream.
That's fun. Girl, there's no right or wrong answer.
Reality. Reality. Make your dreams reality.
Y'all better call it. This is what I'm saying. Y'all speak it. Bring it here. Okay. Bring it here, right now.
Come
like
on,
that,
pool boy. Bring me my drink. Bring me my bevy.
This is what I'm talking about, y'all. Better call it in. Shannon Leighty, aka Leighty Body Girl. It has been a pleasure having you.
Ma'am.
What a
Thank
gift.
You.
What a gift. And,
you guys, I gotta say,
okay.
Electra, you guys have a great mentor with Electra. Yeah.
Received.
She the bomb.
Thank you.
She's bringing it.
Girl,
hard for y'all. Hard.
I live for this. I was thinking about it this morning. I was just like, the love is real when it's like a daily, it's a constant. It's a constant. Mm-hmm. It's in, as we were talking about earlier, being in alignment. I love it. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for your kindness, girl. Anyone you want to give some shout outs to, any recognition you want to give some folks, any plugs?
Well, so my Dreaming Heart publishing buddies, Vic and Kristen.
Hey, girls.
They are doing some exceptional work right now. And I'm super proud of them. And they've kind of become my first Dreaming Hearts. Yes. And I also want to shout out to Vic's sister, Val, who I've hired on to do my website for Dreaming Hearts Publishing. And we've like opened the gates to other Dreaming Hearts. And Electra, you're a Dreaming Heart. You're amazing. Yes. So many amazing. I just want to shout out to all the women who are keeping it real, being authentic, and not being in competition. Yeah. You go up the ladder, you bring somebody with you. You know what I mean? We got to be in that sisterhood more, Yes. Yeah. And I feel like, and I love that. And again, shout out to the DHP crew for sure. The Dreaming Hearts, as you were saying, but I love that as far as there's more than enough out here, like it's so critical. I said this on a previous interview too, because when it came to the shout outs and recognition, there's more than enough. And if you feel that there is not, only at that point are you heavy in competing, because it's like there's this one thing that we're all fighting for. No, there's more than enough. You can have there can be countless artist communities. There can be countless speakers. There can be countless podcasters. There can be countless ceramics, artists. There's more than enough, y'all. And when you realize that, you receive more. Yep. We're the mic on that. Yes. Preach. Like, we're coming into spring. So just look to nature as the abundance that we all have, right? Like, girl, your fruit tree just isn't making one apple.
Oh my God.
It's making like a million, right? Ooh. So like, just look to nature. Cause like, as the spring starts to come in and the flowers start to grow, like it's a great time to remember that we are of nature and we are abundant in our abilities,
Y'all, did you hear what the energy behind when she said, remember? Because it's not always just about like, I got to get to there's information I need to find out. Like, you have to remember who the heck you are.
I mean, there's
got to be a part two. There's got to be a part two
because the soul has lived many lives and has been many things. And when you get in that alignment, you start to activate those gifts that soul. You start to remember like who you are.
Oh my God. Oh, that's a lot.
And that's like a whole nother, because then we can get into past lives. And
I know, girl.
That's what I was like. Akashic records.
Part two. Yeah. Part two. And for the part two, I have to drink some cacao. Because I'm just this a lot is what I say. This a lot, girl. This is just a lot. Okay, girl. Thank you once again.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
love
I
you, love you.
appreciate you. So Shannon and I are going to say peace to our listeners, and we're just going to stay on for a couple minutes more. Okay, so peace to all y'all. Take care. Love y'all.
Keep creating.
Creatives, it has been both a pleasure and an honor to have you sit in on our conversation today. So, will you be the next artist interviewed? Visit respecttheartist.com/artist-interviews to learn more. And hopefully, I'll see you soon. RTA stands for Respect the Artist. Love y'all.